Mark Elliott Zuckerberg is an internet entrepreneur, American business magnate, and philanthropist. He's the co-founder, CEO, and controlling shareholder of Facebook and the parent company Meta Platforms. This is the story of a programming prodigy and one of the most successful entrepreneurs of our generation. Mark's story begins with a psychiatrist named Karen and a dentist named Edward Zuckerberg. Karen and Edward had 3 daughters named Ariel, Randy, and Donna, and only one son, who they named Mark Zuckerberg. Mark was born in White Plains, New York on May 14, 1984, to Karen and Edward's comfortable, well-educated, Jewish household where he was raised in Dobbs Ferry, New York. Mark's grandparents were Jewish immigrants who moved from Austria, Germany, and Poland. Mark was a child programming prodigy. In middle school, Mark began writing software and using computers. When he was only 12 years old, he built a messaging program using Atari Basic that enabled the computers in his father's dental office and the computers in his house to communicate easier. He called it ZuckNet. Whenever Mark's friends would come over to his house, they would occasionally draw things, and Zuckerberg would use his programming skills to make a video game out of them. A New Yorker profile described Mark by saying, "Some kids played computer games. Mark created them." Mark went to Ardsley High School as a teenager and later transferred to Phillips Exeter Academy, where he was the captain of the fencing team. He also during this time built a music player known as the Synapse Media Player, a device that used machine learning to analyze the listening habits of the user, similar to Pandora. He posted it to Slashdot, a social news website branded as News for Nerds, where PC Magazine gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Companies like Microsoft and AOL showed interest in Mark when he was just a teenager by trying to buy his software programs from him and also by trying to hire him before he even graduated high school, but he declined all of these offers. After graduating Exeter in 2002, he began attending Harvard University. By this point in his life, Mark was already well known for being a young programming prodigy. He double majored in computer science and psychology. At Harvard, he belonged to the Alpha Epsilon Pi fraternity and the Kirkland Undergraduate Residential House. As a sophomore, Mark was considered the go-to software developer on Harvard's campus. During this time, he wrote a program called Course Match that enabled users to choose classes based on choices made by other students and also to help them form study groups with their peers. He then wrote another random program called Face Mash, which allowed students to choose their hottest classmates based on a ranking system that ranked students' photos against each other. Face Mash was launched at Harvard over the weekend, but was quickly taken down because it became so popular that it crashed Harvard's network and prevented students from accessing the internet. To add on to this trouble, Harvard students complained that their pictures were being used without their permission. During his sophomore year, while attending a frat party, Mark met Priscilla Chan, a fellow Harvard student who he started dating in 2003. It was at Harvard in his dorm room in January 2004 where he began writing code for yet another random program that he called the Facebook. He launched thefacebook.com in February 2004 as a 20-year-old with his roommates Chris Hughes, Dustin Moskovitz, Andrew McCullum, and Eduardo Savarine. Inspiration for this program came from his private school, Phillips Exeter Academy, where students would use a student directory known as the Photo Address Book to list their class years, their friends, and telephone numbers to interact with each other. Only 6 days after the launch of the Facebook, Zuckerberg was accused of misleading 3 Harvard seniors, Divya Narendra, Tyler Winklevoss, and Cameron Winklevoss, into making them believe he would help them launch their own social network called HarvardConnection.com, which would have acted as a dating site for Harvard's most elite students. Instead of helping them with their product, Zuckerberg obviously ended up launching a competitive product of his own. The 3 tried to get the Harvard newspaper to investigate and run a story about the incident, and Mark tried to prevent the story by hacking into 2 of the editor's email accounts using private information that they stored on the Facebook. This case was settled years later in 2008, with Zuckerberg being forced to transfer 1.2 million common shares of Facebook and $20 million in cash to the three Harvard seniors. Although Facebook started off as a program exclusive to Harvard, Mark continued working on it and launched it at Columbia, New York University, Stanford, Dartmouth, Cornell, University of Pennsylvania, Brown, and Yale. In his sophomore year, Mark dropped out of Harvard and moved to Palo Alto, California, with his co-founders and leased a small house where he would continue to build Facebook. That summer, Mark met Peter Thiel, who chose to invest in Facebook even before Mark got his first office space in 2004. In September, Facebook added a new feature on their platform called The Wall, allowing friends to post information about the user, which went on to become an integral feature of Facebook. By the end of 2004, Facebook had approximately 1 million users, which still trailed the number one social network at the time, MySpace, which had 5 million users. In 2005, Facebook received a massive influx of cash from Accel Partners, a venture capital firm that invested over $12 million into Facebook, which at that point was still only open to Ivy League college students. This was the year where they introduced a new feature called tagging, which allowed users to tag the people in their photos so that they could be more easily identified in their posts. By the end of 2005, Facebook had a little over 5 million users, because Mark had expanded the platform to high schools. In 2006, Zuckerberg opened Facebook up to anyone over the age of 13. At this point, companies started approaching Facebook looking to use the social hub as a marketing platform to advertise their products. Advertisers were able to create new and effective relationships with their customers on a massive scale that had never before been possible until the existence of Facebook. They also during this time period introduced a feature called the news feed, which originally allowed a user's friends to see all of the changes they had made to their page. However, it was quickly taken down after users began complaining about lack of privacy. In 2007, a short-lived service named The Beacon was launched by Facebook that allowed a user's friends to see every single product they had recently purchased from participating companies. But this feature failed as well due to similar complaints over invasion of privacy. Over the next few years, Mark received multiple offers from big corporations like Yahoo, which offered $1 billion to buy Facebook. But Mark turned all of these offers down, stating his reasoning in a 2007 interview when he said, "It's not because of the amount of money. For me and my colleagues, the most important thing is that we create an open information flow for people. Having media corporations owned by conglomerates is just not an attractive idea to me." That being said, in 2007, Microsoft and Facebook made a deal for $240 million in exchange for 1.6% ownership of Facebook. In 2007, at 23 years old, he became the youngest self-made billionaire in the world. He was added to MIT Technology Review's list of top 35 innovators in the world under the age of 35. In 2008, Mark's net worth was estimated to be approximately $1.5 billion. In the same year, MySpace was overtaken by Facebook as the most popular social media website. Around this same time, Facebook launched a new feature called the Live Feed, which ran a live news feed from members who were followed by users, making Facebook highly competitive to another social media site called Twitter. The 2008 presidential election ended up revealing how powerful Facebook was as a political tool, with over thousands of Facebook groups being made in support of presidential candidates Barack Obama and John McCain. In 2010, at 26 years old, Time magazine named Mark the Person of the Year in the same year that Facebook passed 500 million users. He was ranked number 1 on Vanity Fair magazine's top 100 most influential people of the information age in 2010. In a 2010 interview, Zuckerberg was asked if he believed the company had the ability to be even more profitable than it currently was, to which Mark replied, "I guess we could. If you look at how much of our page is taken up with ads compared to the average search query. The average for us is a little less than 10% of the pages, and the average for search is about 20% taken up with ads. That's the simplest thing we could do, but we aren't like that. We make enough money, right? I mean, we are keeping things running, we are growing at the rate we want to." For Zuckerberg, maxing out profit was never as important as innovating and creating the best product possible. In fact, Facebook had a culture that rewarded innovation through destruction. Zuckerberg was famously known for his quote, "It's okay to break things to make them better." He would launch a company-wide event every 6 to 8 weeks known as a hackathon, where employees would work together all through the night to conceive and complete a project, the basic premise of this idea being that a good idea can be built in one night, which became the personality and core culture of Facebook. This was the same year where an Academy Award-winning film called The Social Network was released that depicted Zuckerberg's early career, initial successes, and legal troubles. In 2010, Mark also donated $100 million to struggling Newark public schools in New Jersey, with Newark Mayor Cory Booker stating that he had to go out of his way to try and convince Mark not to make the donation anonymously. It was during this same time that he also signed the Giving Pledge with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, pledging to donate at least half of his wealth over his lifetime. Just as philanthropy has always been important to Zuckerberg, supporting up-and-coming entrepreneurs has also always been one of his key focuses, one of which he took deep interest in, named Kevin Systrom. In 2010, Kevin Systrom began developing an app of his own that focused mainly on sharing photos and videos. Systrom had no formal computer science training but taught himself how to program while working at Nextstop, Google, and Odeo, a company that would later change its name to Twitter. Systrom started off by raising $500,000 in seed funding from 2 venture capitalists in order to continue to develop his entrepreneurial venture. He ended up joining forces with Mike Krieger, a classmate of his from Stanford, and together the 2 classmates spent 8 weeks straight programming before launching the photo and video sharing application in October of 2010. They named it Instagram, combining the words instant and telegram, and the app proceeded to get 25,000 users in a day, attracting the attention of many larger companies, including Facebook. However, in the middle of 2010, Zuckerberg's entrepreneurial pursuits hit a speed bump when he was sued by a man named Paul Seglia, the owner of a fuel company, who claimed that he was owed 84% ownership of Facebook, simply because of a contract he and Mark had signed in April 2003. The contract stipulated that an initial fee of $1,000 entitled Paul to half of the company's revenue, with an added 1% interest in the company per day after January 2004 until the official launch of the social media website. The lawsuit was dismissed as being completely frivolous, and on October 26, 2012, Seglia was arrested on charges of wire fraud and evidence tampering in an attempt to try to defraud Zuckerberg out of billions of dollars. Later that same year, in good news, Priscilla Chan, who is now a medical student at the University of San Francisco, moved into Mark's rented house. Facebook was originally launched solely on college campuses, but quickly expanded beyond colleges and grew to 1 billion users by 2012, 8 years after it was created. In April 2012, Zuckerberg finally made a move to acquire the smaller photo and video sharing application, Instagram, after maintaining an open conversation with Systrom, the CEO of Instagram, for the last few years. By this point, Instagram had about 27 million users. Mark offered Systrom $1 billion of cash and stock to buy Instagram, which Systrom accepted. Facebook was then taken public by Zuckerberg in May 2012, with Zuckerberg holding on to the majority of the shares. The initial public offering raised $16 billion, making it the largest internet stock IPO in history, with Google's IPO coming in second place, raising $1.9 billion when they went public in 2004. By this point, Zuckerberg's net worth was $19 billion, and Facebook's market capitalization was $102 billion. On May 19, 2012, Mark married Priscilla in his mansion at an event that celebrated her medical school graduation. Friends and family arrived expecting to congratulate Chan for her professional achievements, only to be surprised to see Chan and Zuckerberg reading each other their marriage vows. He joined the Fortune 500 list in 2013 at the age of 28, making him the youngest CEO on the list. In 2013, at 29 years of age, he founded a pro-immigration political lobbying group called FWD.US. The goals of this group were to contribute to immigration reform, improve state education in the US, and enable more technological breakthroughs to benefit the public. FWD.US has been criticized in the past for supporting oil drilling and the Keystone XL pipeline. They've also been accused of being an organization that was put in place to simply help hire more tech people, which Mark replied to, clarifying his political stance by saying, "The bigger problem we're trying to address is ensuring the 11 million undocumented folks living in this country now, and similar folks in the future, are treated fairly." Around this same time, Mark donated 18 million Facebook shares worth about $1 billion to the Silicon Valley Community Foundation in 2013, and then immediately afterwards, $25 million to combat the Ebola virus disease as part of the West African Ebola epidemic. By 2015, Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan pledged to transfer 99% of their Facebook shares, then valued at $45 billion, to their philanthropic organization, the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative. During this same year, Zuckerberg revealed that he and his wife were expecting a baby girl, and that his wife Priscilla had unfortunately previously had 3 miscarriages. Their first daughter, Maxima Chan Zuckerberg, was born December 1st, 2015. In 2016, the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative invested $600 million to create a charity called Chan-Zuckerberg BioHub, which is a research organization made to encourage collaboration between scientists and to foster scientific research. In 2016, at 32 years of age, Forbes ranked Zuckerberg 10th on the list of the world's most powerful people. In August 2017, Zuckerberg and Chan had their second daughter, August Zuckerberg. In April 2018, Zuckerberg was brought before Congress to testify in regards to the utilization of personal data by Facebook. The first day of the hearing was a tame confrontation, with the older and technologically inexperienced senators simply struggling to understand Facebook's business model. At one point, one of the senators asked Mark how it was possible that Facebook made money if they didn't charge anything for their service, to which Mark replied, "Senator, we run ads." The following hearings were more stringent, with questions about privacy concerns arising regarding users' personal data and information being harvested by Cambridge Analytica during the 2016 presidential elections. Zuckerberg addressed these concerns by saying that his personal information was among the data that was harvested, and that legal regulation of social media platforms was inevitable. In 2018, Mark's net worth passed the net worth of Berkshire Hathaway CEO Warren Buffett, making Mark the 3rd wealthiest person in the world behind Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. In 2021, he was ranked as the 3rd wealthiest American with a net worth of $134.5 billion. It was during this year that Zuckerberg changed the name of Facebook to Meta Platforms to emphasize the company's new focus on building out the metaverse, a virtual reality environment where users could interact with one another. He was ranked as the 11th wealthiest person in the world in 2022 with a net worth of $57.7 billion. On March 24, 2023, Zuckerberg had his 3rd daughter, Aurelia. As of today, Mark is reported to be the 15th wealthiest person in the world by Forbes' real-time billionaires list, with a net worth of $73 billion.